Hey, what's up? It's Václav here. This video is about how I modified those shades so I can control them automatically from the Home Assistant. This is a second video in a row. If you missed the first one, you can watch it in here. And there I was giving a walk through this house and I was showing all kinds of things I do, how I automate them. The multimedia, lights, heating, and the window shades as well. Now, coming back to those shades when we got them, they were not smart at all. They had those two buttons, and using those buttons I could control the movement of those blades. So if I wanted to change the tilt, I would have to shortly push the button up, and I would have to somehow guess and keep pushing it until I get the right position. And if I wanted to raise them up, I would have to hold the button. I would have to keep pressed it for about a minute or so. I keep it down and I'm waiting. And I'll be waiting for about a minute, because if I let it go, the shades will stop. And if I wanted to send them back down, I would have to push the other button, and again I would have to keep it down and keep it pressed, and they will first tilt and they will go down, and I have to keep holding it for, as I said, it takes about a minute, and it's quite inconvenient actually. There you go. So what I did is I have automated those buttons, those controls. I have connected them to Home Assistant through Arduino. And through that, I can independently control the position of the shades, send them up, send them down to any position I like. And I can also control the tilt. I can open it, simply like that, or I can close it, or I can set them to any position I want. So for example, 50 degrees right now. And I obviously don't do it from the phone like I'm doing right now. I do that automatically. So I have automation, where in the summer, when it's sunny outside, I would actually, every 15 minutes, I would make an adjustment of the tilt angle, and I would tilt them based on the angle of the sun, based on the elevation. So I have calculated what is the right tilt for those blades, so they would create shade inside, they wouldn't let the sun rays in, but they would let enough light in so it's not dark inside. So I do it during the morning when there is a sun on this side of the house. In the afternoon I would tilt them up, so it's nice and light in here. And in the evening I would just close them down so they would create privacy. This is what I do when it's sunny. When it's cloudy I would just keep them tilted up, so there's light inside. I don't have to turn lights on. And in the winter, I actually control them not only based on the weather and the elevation of the sun, but I also control them based on the temperature inside. So when it's cold inside and nice and sunny outside, I would not only tilt them up, but I would actually open them up to let the sun in. So I will save on the energy bill. And I will go about this automation, how I did that, and I will show it to you and share it with you in the next video. So if you want to make sure you don't miss that, hit the subscribe down there. But in this video I will explain you how I actually modified those shades so I could control them and connect them through the Home Assistant. Now, before I do that, these are not only the only shades I have another kind. Let's come and look at them. And these are those regular covers that most of the houses here have anyhow. And some of them, they have manual control by ropes. I have them in electric, but again, those stupid buttons that I have to keep pressed and wait until the cover comes up. Because if I let it go, they will just stop. So I have to keep them pushed. It's a bit shorter than the other ones. It takes about 30-40 seconds. But still, you know, in the morning, when you're in a rush, So I automated those as well. I control them by sun, but also because it's his bedroom, I control them by the alarm clock or Google Calendar based on the time. So I open them in the morning and I close them in the evening. It's quite neat. But I also wanted to have the maintain the function of the buttons. So if I wanted to close them, I wouldn't have to search for my phone. The buttons actually work similarly as before, with one exception. I wanted to improve that. So if I wanted to fully close them, I don't have to keep it down. I just shortly push it and the relay inside, it will close. It will keep it closed until the cover comes down, and then it will open it. In fact, I recognize two positions, one closed positions with those vents still open, which you can use in the summer to let some air in, and if I push it again, they will fully close to keep it dark inside. Now, when I wanted to do that, the first thing I did, I have asked the manufacturer of those blades for a quote, right? So I went to the producer of those and I said, what can I do to control them through MQTT or whatnot? So they gave me a proposal first to upgrade the electrical motor, because it had to be different one with more wires, with end stops and so on. And the quote was about $1,500 for one of the motors. And I have two in each bedroom. So I have 6 plus the ones in the corridor. So it's about 8 times 1,500. And that will be just the motors. Then I would have to go about the controls, and I would have to somehow then probably buy some API and do the interconnection. So do you think I went to my wife with this proposal? No, I didn't. So I was thinking maybe using Arduino, I can do the automation myself. So let's come and see how I did that. So there's 2 windows. So this is how it looks from the side. And then there's the other one. And each window has a cover in front. And at the top, it's rolled like that. So there's another one here. In the middle, there is electrical motor. And when the motor rotates left and right, the cover is coming up and down. Each of the motors has 3 wires come to it. So one is coming from the face, L. It's coming all the way down to the wall switch. And the switch has 2 buttons, one for coming up, one for going down. So there's those 3 wires coming through the wall. And there is a control box in here. And then there is the neutral. And the buttons are on springs, right? And they're blocking each other, so I can't push both at the same time. Now, when I push the left one, the electric motor is going to rotate counterclockwise to the left, and the shutter is going to go up, and if I push the right one, the shutter is going to go down. And the second one is exactly the same, so there's 2 buttons. They're also connected to the face, and then they are coming up to the wall box. So if I wanted to automate that, what I need to do is I need to replace those physical buttons by relays. So I will disconnect this cable here. I will have 2 relays in here. One coming up here, second coming there. They will be connected to the face. Now those 2 buttons, they'll be disconnected from the mains. And they will be connected to Arduino. So they'll be connected to pins. This one will probably be something like ground. And each of them is gonna go to 1 pin. And so I will be able to detect when I press the button, I'll be able to open or close each relay. Now, if I did just that, it will allow me to control the buttons from Home Assistant. So I can have a buttons on the Home Assistant screen, and I can push one, it'll come up, and I'll push the other, it'll come down. Now, that's a good start, but it's not exactly what I wanted to do. What I want to do is I would like to be able to control the shutter so it will open and close from 0 to 100% or anything in between. I'll be able to say I'd like the cover to go to 50% and it will go and it'll stop exactly here from wherever it is. And I like to also be able to control the tilt of those blades up and down from the completely horizontal position, open, to completely vertical position that is closed. Now the way how I can do that is if I know the current position, if I remember the current position of the cover, where it is, if I know the time for the shutter to come down or the time to come up indeed, if it's not the same. And if I also know the time that it takes to tilt the blade from one position to the other, then what I can do is I can program the Arduino, so when I send to it the target position and tilt, it will close the relays for the exactly time needed for the shutter to arrive to the desired position, and then it will open the relay again. Now for the tilt, I know that when the shutters are coming down, they are always in the close position, and when it's coming up, first thing it's going to do is it's going to open the shutter, it's going to tilt it up, and then it's going to move up. So I know that when I'm going down, they will be closed. When I'm coming up and then I stop, they'll be open. So based on that, I can also control the tilt if I know the time for it takes to tilt up and down. So if I'm coming up, I know the blades are open, and if I wanted to set them to 45 degrees, I will then shortly close the relay for going down for half the time it takes to close the blades. And it will set them to 45 degrees. Now that we know how to do it, we can start building it. I could get some Wemos Mini or something microcontroller, but the easiest and cheapest way to do that, in fact, is to get a Sonoff 4-channel that has exactly what we need. We have 4 relays, and then we have those 4 buttons, and those buttons, what they do is they connect IO 0, 9, 10 and 14 with the ground to close the relay. Now it's pretty easy to connect the wires for the shutters to those contacts here, and the phase and the neutral. There is no connectors for the buttons, unfortunately, but we can easily change that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rotate it. There is 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons in here. So I'm gonna get a piece of wire. I'm gonna get 4 of those. So 1 and 4. Then I'm going to strip them. So all I need to do is I just need to solder a piece of wire in here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get another one for the ground. So now we have those 4 buttons and the ground in here. To make it easier, I can take this connector in here and connect them in here. So I'll take a screwdriver and I just connect each wire to one of those. So I have them connected like this. I can take a piece of double-sided tape and just glue it in here, and then I have everything ready. So all we need to do now is to program this board with the logic that we have designed on the tablet. As for the firmware, I was looking at a couple of options, firmware that were already ready to be made, and some of them looked very promising. At the time I was doing it, about a year and a half ago, Tasmota would be the firmware of my choice for the Sonoffs anyhow. They support MQTT. I was using them for all the light switches, and if you look closely, they also do have some support for blinds and shutters, even though you have to recompile it, but that wasn't a big deal. I like to do that anyhow. But if you look closer, they only support opening the covers, closing them, and setting them to a specific position, but they have no support for tilting. This is disappointing. Then I looked at the ESP Home, which is actually my current firmware of choice. I use that for all the light switches, and I like its flexibility. And they do have support for covers as well. And they have the control cover action, which does support tilting as well. So this is great. But if you look at the specific time-based cover, again, they only support opening and closing. There's nothing about tilting. And I wanted to have a bit more flexibility with the firmware anyhow, for the button actions, you know, short press and long press and so on. So at the end, I have decided to write own firmware. I have brought it in the Arduino, and it's available. I made it available for you on the GitHub. So if you go to Brooksy70, which is my GitHub page, there is a repository for Venetian blind control, and there you can find the firmware that I use both for the covers as for the shades. They are highly configurable. So if you download those files to your computer and you open them from the Arduino IDE, then there is the config.h file that you can open and do your basic configuration, your MQTT parameters, your timing, and so on. But you don't have to do it, because I added a web interface to it where you can change all of your configuration. So the minimum that you need to configure in here is the Wi-Fi SSID and password, so they can connect to it when it boots. So you can configure it here, do the programming, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then you can go to this web page. So I'm going to show you mine. Let's choose the gallery, and there you could see it has a web page where you have those 4 buttons that you can control it from here, some basic statistics. You can upgrade the firmware from here. You can also calibrate it, so it'll send it up and down and reset the 0 and 100 position. You can restart it, but you can also configure it. And here you can change whether it has vents, whether it has tilts. If you do it, it will change the configuration options. You can set it for 1 or 2 shutters, and you can configure the, you can change the Wi-Fi in here, MQTT server, username and password, the MQTT topics, as well as the timing. And this is very important. This is one thing that you would have to definitely do for your shutter to work. You would have to measure the time it takes to your shutter to go down, and you enter it in here in milliseconds, and then duration up. And then in this case, because I'm tilting, you would have to configure the duration to tilt. If I had vents, then there will be duration to vent, which is not configured in here because this one is not is tilting. And if you have 2 shutters, like in this case, you could have each shutter configured differently, right? Sometimes you have one longer and one shorter. And you can also change the GPIOs in here. And with that, you can save it and restart, and it will reboot and it will be reconfigured. So you can do it in here, or you can do the configuration in here in the Arduino config file. I'm not gonna go through it because it's essentially the same as you saw on the web page, but it's pretty self-explanatory and it's commented. So what you do is you do your configuration here, and then you need to upload it to our board. For that, you need to connect the board. So you need to go to Tools. You need to make sure that the board is set to ESP8285 generic. You can check all of those other parameters in the port. I don't have it connected yet, so I don't see the port, but as you can see, I can also upload from this IDE over the air. So this is also available if I want to update it or something. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it through the USB and send the firmware over the USB cable. So here I have the board that we have soldered previously. I've already connected the USB pins to it, so those 4 cables. I'm not going to go into full detail explaining how you upload firmware to the Arduino board, but essentially I'm connecting 3 volts to 3 volts, then RX to TX and TX to RX. And then I have the ground, which I'm connecting to ground. Now I have this little cable connected to ground in here, which goes there. So I'm connected to this connector because here I couldn't, there was no hole anymore. So I have everything connected. Now what I need to do is I need to take this USB cable, I need to switch it to programming mode. So I will switch the GPIO 0 on this board. Is very easy because the first button is GPIO 0, and I will connect it to the USB and then I will release it. Then if I go to Tools and Port, it's already connected to port 3. So all I need to do is push this upload button, it'll compile it, and after compilation it will program the board. So I'm gonna speed it up in here so you don't have to wait. Okay, so now the firmware has been uploaded to this board, so I can disconnect it and it's ready. So I can now take it and connect it to the wall box. So I have those 4 buttons in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, that should connect to this common ground. Then I have the neutral, the phase, and then those 4 wires that goes to the shutter. So it's pretty simply, I'm not gonna show you that, everyone can probably do that. And the board is ready. So now you know what you can do with my firmware. But if your needs are simpler, but perhaps more general, you can always use Tasmora or ESP Home. I showed you where to find it. And the principle is the same. So that's it for this video. I catch you guys later on the next one, where I'm gonna be showing you how to do automations using these boxes to automate the shades and the covers in the windows. Bye.